Beat Break 87 FM and Reach One Network presents Love and Poetry with your hosts Sha'ria Thomas and Sean Garvey. This is the podcast where we talk about all things considered love, dating, sex, relationships, and poetry. Grab your partner, spouse, or loved one and get cozy on the couch as we help couples build better relationships for a better tomorrow. Now, here are your hosts, Sha'ria Thomas and Sean Garvey.
Good Sunday. I am the architect here, Sean Garvey, and if you are a first-time listener and viewer to Love and Poetry Podcast, this is the show in which we talk about all things considered love, sex, relationships, and of course, poetry. And I also do the podcast with my very great friend and co-host Sha'ria Thomas, but Sha'ria Thomas is taking the evening off. Don't worry, folks. She will be back on the third episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure you follow us at Beat Break Radio on all your social media. We're going to give you some more information and details towards the end of the podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Beat Break Radio if you want to check out the first premiere episode of Love and Poetry. I have a very special guest on the live line with me this evening. But before we get into our special guest, I want to recap a little bit of what me and my co-host Sha'ria Thomas talked about on the first edition of Love and Poetry Podcast. It was basically called The Introduction, what to offer to our listeners and viewers, what the show is about, love and poetry. We broke down some of what we are going to talk about, and there will be times where we will have uncomfortable conversations surrounding the dating scene and relationships. We also brought up the important question, what is love? Love can be interpreted in so many ways, especially in today's society. So we touched on that. And we also talked about how the podcast started. It started from my experiences, from my mental health that I've been dealing with for the past few months as it pertains to my last relationship with an ex of mine. And for those that may not know, I did do a love and relationship show with the legendary icon radio personality Joyce Littell. If you are in the ATL, she is known as Miss Quiet Storm on V103's The Quiet Storm. And she also did a show on News and Talk 1380 WAOK, which I produced on the AM dial, called Love and Relationships with Joyce Littell. So we're kind of a spawn from that show, but we want to do a podcast that centers around everyday relationships pertaining to your spouse, to your mate, or even family members. And let's just have some great conversations surrounding the relationships and dating scene. And speaking of the dating scene, I have this wonderful woman on the live line with me this evening. I had an opportunity to be a guest on her podcast called Playing for Keeps. And she's in the works right now of developing a dating app designed to create deeper connections and relationships. I believe it's under the same name as her podcast, Playing for Keeps. We're going to talk a little bit about my appearance on her recent episode of Playing for Keeps. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I have the one and only podcaster herself, DJ Robinson, Dominique Robinson. Which one is your alias, Dominique? Is it Dominique or DJ?
It's definitely DJ. I need to change like my Zoom back. It was for like interviewing and stuff. I need to change it back.
No, I have several alias names myself, but you go by DJ.
I do.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, DJ. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints. It's Sunday. Gotta get ready for the work week, but yeah, I'm not gonna complain. No complaints. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thank goodness. I have 2 days off from the work week. I have a very complicated schedule. I work 7 days a week, but I spend most of my time at a multimedia company based in Atlanta, Georgia. But outside of that, I have many businesses that need my attention, including this one, because I love doing it.
That's what's up. When you get to the point where you're actually loving what you do, and that's what it sounds like with you, with everything your hands are in, you love what you're doing. I'm hoping to get there in about 6 months. So
6 months. Hey, with the year going by so quick, we're pretty much almost to summer. Right. So I believe that it will be manifested that you will get to that place that you are actually going to be doing what you love and getting paid for it.
Thank you. Right. That's it. Right. Getting paid for it so I can leave I like what I do for a living, but to be able to just do what I love would be awesome. So yeah. Thank you for that. Please manifest that for me as well as for me doing that for myself. So
we're putting it in the universe.
Right now. Yes.
I was a guest on your podcast episode, Playing for Keeps, and we talked about the worst dates that I have been on, which I shared two. I shared two testimonial stories of my experiences in the dating game once upon a time. One was dealing with prom, my senior year in high school, where I met a young lady at the time, and it was the date from hell. That date really stands out than all the other previous dates that I had, especially after that. And I shared with you a quick story of a date prior to that where it didn't end well. I will post the interview on my social media platforms and on the website beatbreakradiofm.com very soon so that you can check out highlights of the podcast episode. But what did you think about the episode and the testimonies that I shared with you on that particular episode?
So the first one where you talked about the prom date from hell, like I told you in the show, like you still had a good night. You know, it still ended on a high note.
Well, of course I had a good night because nobody didn't get shot. Nobody didn't get stabbed.
And you also, even though, you know, the chemistry was off, you still took it upon yourself. Well, forget it. I'm still going to have a good night. And you ended up dancing with other females versus other people would have just kind of clamped up in their shell and would have, you know, whatever they would have done. And then the second one, I'm surprised that one wasn't the worst experience for you because the second date you told me about was crazy. Right. Like you clearly attracted a big user on that particular date with her wanting you to travel after the date. What was it? 2 hours away, an hour and a half away?
2 hours away from Atlanta.
That was crazy.
She wanted me to be her personal chauffeur. This was before Uber and Lyft. This was pre-Uber.
And then also when you were talking about, I guess after the date, she needed a pack of cigarettes and how she was fiending. And it just, that to me would have been just the worst. Like, hell no. Did you avoid dating apps for a while after that? Or did you continue to push through? Like,
I ended up pushing through after that. Wow. And I'm still on two dating apps to this very day. And that's why we're here to talk about it. That's why we're here to talk about it, DJ.
I'm on one now. I just went ahead and put myself back on it just to kind of see what's out there. And it's, I don't know, I can blame myself too because I don't have the time. Like genuine people could be messaging me and then I'll be active for one day and then I'm not active like for 2-3 days. So I might need to get off of it in my opinion. But
I don't see myself being on dating apps at the age of 70 and 80. No, I don't. I'm knocking on 40. I'm knocking on 40, so I really don't see myself being on there for a long time. But let's talk about it. Today or tonight's theme is what in the dating app is going on. I came up with that topic question, by the way. Let's go ahead and break it down, DJ. I saw a show recently on Fox Soul called the Tammy Mack Show. Shout outs to Tammy Mack. Well-known personality, TV and radio. And she touched on online dating, which is still a phenomenon in 2021. Millions and millions of people partake in this particular activity to find true love. But we're also in the age of dating apps. Before Tinder, before Bumble, before Hinge, and so many other dating apps, there were Black Planet. Actually, my first experience doing online dating was on AOL. You remember AOL?
I never did AOL. Like I'm late to the dating kind of game. I started when the apps came out. I think my first one was POF, and that was a horrible, horrible experience for me.
POF became WTF, huh?
Yes, it definitely did. It definitely did.
Yeah. I bet. I never been on POF.
My sister actually married the person she met off POF. So she lucked up. But no,
right.
POF was very horrible for me. And I think what was bad was the fact that I think still with POF, I'm not sure because I haven't been on there for years, but people can just message you. Like, it doesn't matter if you like them or they like you. I didn't have a good experience on POF at all. Even with me meeting people was pretty bad. Like, I got catfished off POF. I had somebody tell me I looked like a trans on PO. It was really bad.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
it was bad.
very insulting.
I think I clearly look like a woman, but it was bad.
last time I checked, I looked at certain areas on my body, and I am a woman.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. Before online dating, and we'll get into the dating app thing in just a few moments. Before online dating, I was doing these call numbers. And judging by your facial expression, you know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's like the 1-800 numbers or your local number that you can call in and talk to as many people that are on the line live and on the line right now to see if there's going to be some type of spark or interest between you and that other person. But I don't partake in any of those numbers anymore. It's just, to me, it's all about dating app. I want to ask you this question. Now, we're definitely going to talk about playing for keeps also, but people keep saying online dating, and there are people that say dating apps. Is there a difference between online dating and dating apps, or is it pretty much the same?
I would say it's grown to be pretty much the same. I know when I think of online dating, I know what comes to mind. Some people would say online dating is better, actually. They say people who do online dating is more serious. I know I was just recently talking to my friend, and we were talking about virtual speed dating, which takes place online. And people who do the virtual speed dating, they have time to actually communicate for a few minutes and catch the vibes. Those people tend to be more serious. So maybe online dating is better. I haven't looked up the statistics to find out, but to me it's the same, but to some people it's not.
And why would you say that? To you it's the same, but to other people it's not? Why?
I think because I haven't experienced. I think because I haven't done online dating like that. I haven't gotten on the sites that do online. I think most of my experiences are through dating apps. So I think I'm kind of biased. That's probably why. But speaking to people who have that experience, they would say online dating is better.
Wow. Okay. Now, when we talk about online dating, the first few sites that come to my mind is Match.com, eHarmony.
Right. The older population. And I think with eHarmony, I don't know about Match, but eHarmony, they do like an assessment and all of that stuff. So it seems like it's just more geared to the more serious dater versus dating apps. You make a quick profile and you just start matching with people.
Yeah. I never been on any of those sites, Match.com and eHarmony. I heard some stories about them, some successful and some not. But I'm more of a straight shooter, straightforward type of person. I like things to be directed towards me or go through avenues where it's not going to cost me a certain amount of money to find love.
Right.
And so that's why I saw myself going towards Bumble and Tinder. Actually, I tried out Tinder first before Bumble. And I met the love of my life on Tinder. Before I met the love of my life on Tinder, I met multiple women on there. Some only lasted as text buddies. Some I met in person and hung out with. Some I have dated, and some I'm still friends with to this very day. At the end of the day, it's all about what you're looking for, what your agenda is, what your objective is. But to break these different apps down from Tinder and Bumble, let's talk about the first two, because people know what Tinder is, people know what Bumble is, but for those that haven't explored the dating app world, what is Tinder and what is Bumble and how are they different from each other?
So with Tinder, you make your profile and you match with, you're able to just go ahead and start matching with people. With Bumble, it's kind of the same, but it's a little different. I was on Bumble for a quick minute, but with Bumble, the woman gets to choose first. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that is more successful or not. And then also with Bumble, they've kind of branched out even more where it's more than just relationship, that you can network with and meet business people and stuff like that. But in the relationship arena, Bumble would be considered more of the, I guess, relationship app because of the aspect of the woman makes the first move and, they filter certain things out. Like say if you're a guy who wants to send a new picture and you're just looking for sex, if the woman wants to report you, she can. Same with Tinder, but I think they have technology now where you can't even put photos like that. So Bumble would be more of for the serious dater, I would say. And then Tinder is known to be a hookup app, to be honest with you. I met my last long-term relationship. I also met this person off of Tinder though. My story kind of relates to yours when you say you met the love of your life off of Tinder. So I think it's just based off of people's experiences on it. I know a lot of people get on dating apps and they don't really know themselves and they really don't know what they want. They think they do, but they don't. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I can concur. I've met plenty of people that send mixed messages, basically, right, as far as what they think they want, but then weeks from now or weeks from us talking, you change your mind. People change their minds all the time, especially as far as what they're looking for in a mate. I'm going to share you a story about a woman I recently met on Tinder. We went on one date, DJ, and then after that, it was just limited communication to the point where we're not even on talking terms anymore. But let me get into the backstory, the quick backstory behind that. I met this woman on Tinder, same age as me at the time. This was days before my birthday. I turned 37 on January 30th. So this was before my birthday. We came in contact with each other on Tinder. Apparently it was something that she liked on my profile, and it was something that I liked on her profile. She kept it sweet and short of who she was and what she was looking for. So we had a good vibe on Tinder as far as communicating with each other, talking about what our interests were, what we looking for in a mate, what happened in our past relationships, the basic questions and conversations that you have with your potential significant other or potential mate. We developed a friendship automatically, and we just clicked. I made the initiative. I made the first move to ask her, hey, I would like to take you on a date. Can I take you out on a date? And she said yes. So we planned it. We planned it out. I was the one that picked out the place. Now, at first, she gave me a rain check on the night of the date. I was coming from work, drove all the way home so that I could get ready for the date. She texted me saying, "You going to hate me." Now, when somebody texts you saying you're going to hate me the night of the date, that means one or two things. But the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh boy, rain check. She got to reschedule. I already know. So we talked about it, but she was sore that evening. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Your health is your number one priority. Right. So I suggested to her, just get you some rest. We can reschedule. And she picked Tuesday. She picked Tuesday as the date for us to go on our first date. And I was cool with it. And this was me minutes as I was getting ready to go into the shower. I was literally, DJ, about to go into the shower. And then she hit me with the text to reschedule. But I was cool with it. So Tuesday rolls around. We're getting ready to meet for the first time. And when we met for the first time, DJ, it was perfect. It was absolute perfect. We had a great vibe, great conversations, great time. We laughed. We talked about a number of different things. And she just caught my attention. I came out and said to her, hey, I want to take you out on a second date. Can I take you out on a second date? And she simply said, yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, we having a great time, great energy, great communication. I walk her towards her car. And I told her to text me once you get home. We both had drinks, so I want to make sure that she got home safe and sound. And she said, okay. By the time I got home, and I knew she was going to beat me home before I did, because she lived in an area that was closer to the spot that we met for the first time. So when I got home, I didn't get no notification or no text from her letting me know that she got home okay. So I figured to myself, this happens sometimes with people. By the time they get home, they're already tired. They got to get up the next day and go to work. So I was like, okay, maybe she'll text me the next day or what have you. Next day rolls around, no text, no notification from her. It's like, okay, this is weird. I would think that she would send me a text saying, hey, forgot to text you, went to sleep, crashed, but I did have a great time. Thank you for the drinks. Thank you for the food. I paid for everything, DJ. By the way, for ladies, if you're wondering who paid for the date, I did. I paid for the date days after my birthday. This was supposed to be like a date/birthday outing for me because I was still celebrating my birthday. Now, she said that she was going to pay for the date since it was my birthday, but I took the initiation to do it. I took the initiative to do it, right? So fast forward, and to make this long story short, a few days after the date, I sent her a video. No. Actually, I sent her an affirmation. I noticed that she likes affirmation. So I sent her one, just giving her positive energy, positive vibes. She texted me back saying, thanks. That was it. Thanks. And it's like, okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Do you think she was expecting you to like text her?
I don't know. It started out from me telling her, hey, text me and let me know you got home okay.
Yeah.
Right? So fast forward, I replied by saying, you're welcome. And I still didn't hear from her. And then I sent her a video from this guy named Darman, who I'm still trying to bring on one of my podcast shows. He's like a inspirational, motivational speaker. He does videos and et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into that later. I sent her a video. She never responded. Okay. So I sent her a follow-up text asking her, hey, can we talk? Either before or after the Super Bowl. And she said, sure. It's like, okay, cool. So by Saturday night, or Saturday evening rather, I sent her a text saying, hey, do you think we can speak around 8ish? You know, talk or what have you. I haven't heard from her since our date, right?
Yeah.
And she replies back saying, oh, and also, by the way, I don't want to leave this fact out. She also, I also said to her that I lost a classmate of mine from high school and that I needed to speak to someone about it and what have you. You know, I just wanted to hear her voice. Yeah. She replied back saying, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I don't think I will be home around that time. I was like, okay, well, do you think we can talk later at another day or time or what have you? Still no response, DJ. Still no response. So a few days later, I sent her another text, and I wasn't trying to be clingy or anything. I just wanted communication. In the beginning, she was the one that said, I look for consistency and communication. I'm like, okay, me too. Since everybody tends to say that communication is the key, and I'm trying to communicate with you. So I sent her a text saying, hey, do you think, actually, I said to her, hey, can we please talk? I need to speak to you. She replies back by saying, I can't today. I have to go to work and I have class today. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw in the towel. I give up. I just replied back by saying, okay, well, you have a blessed and beautiful day. And she replied back saying, you too. And that was it. Last time I heard from her. And this was somebody I met on Tinder, ladies and gentlemen.
This a downfall of dating apps. And not saying that this was her case, but I think we both, like men and women, and we have so many options. And there's no telling why she just decided to just kind of go left. Like there's really no explanation for that.
Yeah, I just came to the conclusion that she ghosted on me. She ghosted. I know a lot of you all that are listening and watching us, you all can relate. There are plenty of people that are out there that have been ghosted. Have you ever been ghosted, DJ, from somebody you met on Tinder or on Bumble?
I'm not going to be honest with you. I probably am the one that does a lot of the ghosting, but it's not. Not because I know for me, like say if I go out on a date with somebody, the other person may think that it went great and went amazing, and then it could have went good. Like, oh, okay, he's great, but maybe in a way, maybe I felt like our lives wouldn't mesh or something like that. But usually, me, if a guy comes back, I'm usually upfront about it, though. I don't just kind of leave them lingering if they decide to hit me back. But if I totally ghost somebody, it's usually because my schedule is just all over the place, and normally I haven't met you, or like I said, you did something crazy and I'm just not talking to you. Like after a first date or a first outing, and you just kind of did something that kind of turned me off, which is for me personally, which I've been working on, is my communication, because I wasn't there a while ago. I normally would just ghost and wouldn't say anything. But now I will speak up if the person reaches out, if I feel like it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't say, have I ever been ghosted?
Because you do the ghosting. You do most of the ghosting.
Yeah, but I've gotten better with that. So I'm trying to think. And then me, I haven't been out there like that in the dating world. So I haven't put myself out there to be ghosted. So I don't know. But in the past, that's because obviously she also needs to work on communication skills. Because in the past, I would say, oh, I like consistency. I like communication, which I do, but I would like it from the wrong guys. Like I never liked it from the guys that would give it to me per se. So that's something I've learned. I need to work better on my communication. And I like those guys who suck at communication, because I didn't really have to communicate like that. I can argue with you and try to get you to talk, but I'm not willing to talk about myself like that. That's something I had to learn.
Let me ask you this.
About myself.
Right. Let me ask you this, DJ. Does ghosting happen a lot via dating apps?
It does. It happens a whole lot. And it's mostly due to people not knowing how to really communicate how they feel, or not really knowing what they want. They think they want consistency and communication, but they do, but they either want it from the wrong type of people, or they just don't know what they want for real. Or you might want something serious and then they really don't want nothing that serious. So yeah, ghosting happens a lot.
If you don't know what you want, why go on these dating apps in the first place? I hear people say that they go on these, but the thing is this, DJ, I hear people say that they go on these dating apps because of boredom. They bored,
do
or
that
their
too.
friend put them on to them and they want to see what the hype is all about. But dating apps to me, is a form of social media. We're in a social media age. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram. You can go to any of those places if you're bored.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand at the end of the day, you don't like to read books, you don't like to go to museums or do things that will spark your interest in a different direction or to get you outside of the boredom phase that you are going through. But why go to dating apps if you're bored? Why not just stay on the other social media platforms? Go ahead.
You can probably directly communicate with somebody you find attractive, have a little nice pen pal you'll never meet. But, social media, you just posting stuff and looking at stuff. But when you're on a dating app, you actually get to meet. You get to write people, and it's sad because you playing with people's emotions who are really looking to meet somebody. But
right.
You don't get the same social aspect, unfortunately. So that's why I said I'm on one dating app, but I may take myself off because I can't be consistent like I need to for the people who are serious. Because I feel like I'm kind of on there, not because I'm bored. I do want something, but with the time that I have, I don't have the time to invest into something. So that's why I need to get off. But yeah, a lot of people, they want to sit and just have somebody to talk to. You can't really do that on Facebook. And you can, but not like on a dating app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
there needs to be time. There needs to be time in what you want. I hear people say you make time for what you want.
Yeah.
I have a busy schedule too. My thing is this. I have a busy schedule too. I work 7 days a week. I'm an entrepreneur in all things considered media. I make time for this podcast to speak to you as an important guest. I make time to do the Beat Break Morning Show, the BV Mobiles podcast, to work at a multimedia, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. I make time to do all these different things, screenwriting and stuff like that. Of course, bills got to get paid, stuff got to get done. But if I'm putting myself in the scene of looking for a potential mate or someone that I could possibly see to spend my life with, I'm going to make time. However, my philosophy is this. If you're not where you need to be in your life, if you're working all these different jobs or you work a 10 to 12 hour job and you going to school at the same time and you're doing extracurricular activities outside of your work and outside of school, maybe you need to focus on getting to where you need to be at before you go on a dating site or before you go on a dating app. I mean, do you agree?
And that's the hard, that I agree. But the thing is, most of the population, that's what they're doing. And then, they understand that their work and school is important, but we all are human beings and we all want some type of companionship. So, people will try to juggle different things and they're not amazing like you are. And it falls through for some people. Because a lot of people can't do what you do. They try because they want that companionship, but they can't do what you do. That's just for some people, But like I was saying, a lot of people go on these dating apps and like what we were talking about, they don't really know what they want and they don't really know themselves, like I was just telling you, like in the past, I would say I want consistency and communication, but in reality, I didn't know how to communicate. I just knew how to fuss at somebody else who didn't know how to communicate, and I was comfortable in that environment. So I would tend to lean towards guys who didn't know how to communicate and didn't have too much going on for themselves.
Yeah.
Because do you get what I'm saying? But,
Right. I understand. I think to me, going back to what you said, excuse me, about playing with people's emotions. Yeah, you playing with people's emotions if you ghosted on somebody that feels like, oh, we had a great time. I remember there was a time even before dating apps and before social media, if you ghosted on somebody, and we didn't even use the term ghost, it was like you smash and you dash type of thing. You only hear those stories if you had a one-night stand with somebody, right? But if you met somebody organically, whether it's at a grocery store or at a bookstore, you all don't have sex on the first date. You all have a date. It's cool. It's casual. 9 out of 10, you're going to see that person again. And the communication is still going to be ongoing. But it's like nowadays with these dating apps, it's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And for some people, they luck up by finding somebody that's consistent, where it goes from the dating phase to now the relationship phase, and to some people's cases, the marriage phase. I've heard stories from people who have gotten married off of Tinder, off of Bumble, or off of Hinge, or Match.com. We can go on and on and on. And going back to the Tammy Mack show, she had a married couple that met each other on Tinder. I believe that was Tinder or another dating app. So it's common, but like you said earlier, you have those people that do not know what they want that go on these dating apps. And people have their own agendas.
Own agenda and so many options, right? Like you literally get on a dating app and there's just a whole bunch of options versus back in the day, even when it was just online dating, weren't majority of people still meeting each other like in person? And it wasn't, and you were in your town and you had the people presented to you in your town. Now you have a phone and it's a dating app. You're in front of thousands of people and vice versa. So, unfortunately people look at all of the options. They might have something great right here, but they also see this other person. They want to try that person. And it's just, Yeah.
Now more than ever before.
Right.
People are gravitating even more to dating apps in the pandemic. A lot of places have shut down. Clubs, social gatherings, et cetera, et cetera. Have you seen a rise of people going on dating apps? I know I have, but what about you?
Yes, I have. But a lot of them are looking for pen pals because they're bored. So, and a lot of them, and I know me personally, I'm not the type I know they're advertising like virtual dating. You guys watch TV together and stuff like that. I'm not a big TV person. So a lot of people are looking for pen pals, in my opinion, why it's grown, and they're bored in the house and they can't get out like they used to and stuff like that. So yeah, it's grown, but I know for me, I like to get out. I want to meet, especially here in Georgia. A lot of things aren't really closed down, so you still can get out. So, I've seen an increase, but it hasn't helped me in any type of way.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something. If some of the churches reopened up, I would go.
Really?
I would go, just not for the word. I might get something out of it, but I would go just to see which woman in there is single and looking for a mate or a future husband. I would just go on the strength of that. I've met plenty of attractive and nice women in the church in my much younger years. There was a certain point where I stopped going to church. And after that, I just found spirituality through other means. But I would literally go back to church just to find a mate, because with the dating apps, it just seems like, once again, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, like, swipe. And it's not working for me.
I agree with you to a certain extent. I think for me, the only thing is, like, okay, I was raised off of Christianity and stuff like that. I still pretty much am, for the most part, Christian and into the church. But at the same time, I lean more closer to spirituality. And I see, for me, men in the church, they're so closed-minded. I think that's the only gripe for me. And that may be the reason why I'm kind of single, because I know men who put God first, they tend, if they can follow the Lord, normally they will treat their woman right for the most part. I know there's special cases. I'm like, maybe that's my problem, because I'm like, they're a little too close-minded for me. I don't know if you agree with that, being the fact that you said that you kind of lean on spirituality.
my thing is this: it's not so much of being closed-minded. It is more so of when you get to a certain age in life. Like I'm 37. It's been there, done that. I heard everything from under the sun, or almost everything. I experienced life enough to gain the knowledge that I am able to gain. And some of the knowledge that I picked up didn't come from the Bible. Right. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, going to church is like going to a hospital.
Okay.
You go into a medical center for care, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional. You're going for care, right? I'm already talking to a therapist right now on my mental health journey, number one. Number two, I have a spiritual connection with the Lord. And number three, for me, church just didn't speak to me as a black man trying to survive in America. I know we're getting a little bit off a topic here, but this kind of coincides with the dating app topic that we're touching on if you're just tuning in to Love and Poetry Podcast with Sean Garvey and my special guest, DJ. Church to me is just a place of refuge, a place to go seek healing for whatever you're going through. But at the same time, plenty of the multiple churches that I've been to didn't speak to me as a black man. I'm at a point in my life where I don't need you to tell me something I've already heard 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I was still in the same place that I was in with my mother before, because my mom and I grew up struggling.
Gotcha.
And we went to church every Sunday, every year, no result. Same thing, still struggling, what have you. Like, talk to me as a black man. What can you tell me that the Bible cannot tell me? Yeah, there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of contradiction in the Bible, and we'll talk about that on another podcast. But at the same time, talk to me as a black man trying to survive in America. That's all I got to say for that particular part of the podcast. Now, back. But I had people that tell me, Sean, if the dating app is not working for you, why not look at a church? Why not look at churches or other venues, whether it's like a spoken word venue? I'm a spoken word artist myself. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I should go back to the church, but it's not too many churches that are opening right now.
You know, I'm a part of meetups. Are you a part of meetups?
I've heard of that, but no, I'm not a part of that.
Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of groups you can like link up with, and they have relationship groups on there and all that stuff within Atlanta, and they're doing meetups still. So that might be a good place to check out too, you know, just to, you know, network and meet different people. You can join a lot of different groups besides the relationship groups, but they're still doing meetups, like in-person meetups. So that's another good avenue as well.
Okay, meetups. And this is outside of the dating app venue.
Right.
Okay. Care to share some more information? Like, where are these meetups? Are they at
I literally need to. I'm gonna pull it up because I haven't gone to any of them. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I'm a part of the meetup groups, and I'll get alerts to my emails. So let me see. But a lot of them are in Atlanta.
Okay.
Where people will meet up and they do like like singles parties and things like that. And you can actually meet up with people, talk about common interests and stuff like that. I'm gonna pull up meetups.
Okay. So while she's pulling that information up, I just want to remind you guys that you are tuning in to Love and Poetry Podcast with your host, Sean Garvey, and Sha'ria Thomas is taking a vacation from the episode 2, but she will be back on episode 3. And joining with me is DJ Dominique Robinson, who I had the opportunity to be on her podcast, Playing for Keeps. And towards the end of the podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about the podcast itself, as well as the app that she is currently working on, which I am assuming that it's a little bit different from both Tinder and Bumble and all the other dating apps that are out there. So we'll get into that momentarily. And want to remind you guys also that you can check out this podcast on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, as well as on Anchor.fm. And we are also on Beat Break 87 FM, Reach One Network, in which you can check out the podcast each and every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is a bi-weekly show in which we only come on the first and third Sunday of each month. And on the other 2 weeks that we're on, we are going to be doing our content via IG Live. We want to make sure that we tap in and stay engaged with our social media audiences by way of IG just as much as we are on Facebook. So you can catch us on IG at Beat Break Radio every 2 weeks, bi-weekly when we're not doing the podcast live. And Sha'ria and myself will give you more information about that on the next episode. Once again, we have DJ Dominique Robinson on the live line with me this evening talking about dating apps. What in the dating app is going on? And I believe she pulled up the information about this meetup thing happening in Atlanta.
I have one.
Okay.
So, I have a couple actually. So this one here is called Atlanta After Dark Young Professionals. And for this particular meetup, it's a mixer in speed dating. Find a match for if you're a young professional within Atlanta. And then other events that this particular group has, because this is the only one I can find. So They have actually online speed dating. This takes place today, actually.
Oh, wow.
They have new friends, single professionals, mixers, and this is between the ages of 36 and 47 group. And then the new friends, new connection mixer, 24 to 35 group. So that's something that this particular group does. I couldn't pull up the other groups that I'm a part of.
Okay, no worries.
I'm a part of several that does that. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the location, because I know the mixers are in person.
Okay. Well, I know I'm definitely not going to be able to make it to that function tonight. I got other things I got to do. But I can't find the address, but there's a lot of groups that do that. They have mixers, singles mixers and stuff like that. And there's a lot of groups like that within Atlanta. So that's a really, meetups is a really good place. If you don't want to do dating apps, and you want to get out there and meet people in person. Right.
Websites like Meetups and a couple of other ones that I can't think of right now are really good.
Okay. So just another alternative outside of dating apps. If you find yourself in a pickle and the dating apps are not working for you, this is our alternative. Meetups, Meetup ATL. And I heard about that before, but I just didn't really divulge into that. But maybe you can help a brother out with that. We got our own way of communicating outside of the podcast. So if you want to share that information with me, please do so. And I can do the same thing for our podcast listeners and viewers that need that information also. So if you're single and ready to mingle in Atlanta, Meetup ATL is something to look into. So we'll make sure we have that information for not only myself, but for our listeners and viewers as well. DJ on the live line with yours truly, Sean Garvey, Love and Poetry Podcast. Let's go ahead and talk about Playing for Keeps, the podcast and the app. What is Playing for Keeps?
So Playing for Keeps was kind of born out of my last serious relationship. Like I was saying earlier, I met a guy off Tinder, and we had an on and off relationship for some years. Anyway, within this relationship, I would try to get him to take different tests, like emotional intelligence tests. I would try to talk about love language and all of these different things. And he just didn't want to do it. So, after we broke up, and I had to kind of go into self-discovery mode myself. So some things about me I discovered. I have codependency issues. I didn't know myself and what I wanted. Just a lot of different things. Like, why did I attract this person? With me discovering these things, emotional intelligence, stuff like that, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if there was a dating app that let people know from the jump where they were at? Like, when I learned about attachment theory, I learned more about love language. I learned more about, like I say, emotional intelligence, and then I created games based off of sexual compatibility. So I was like, why don't I create a dating app? Because I met him on a dating app. Why don't I create a dating app? When two people match, they have to play a compatibility game. So I created games that short little games people can play. And after they match, they have to play a game. And they can see whether they're compatible or not. And if they're not compatible, they still can talk and match, but they know, like, okay, we're not compatible in this area. So that's where my dating app idea came from. And then the podcast came from, well, like I was saying, a lot of people don't know what they want. A lot of people don't know themselves. A lot of people self-sabotage a relationship that could be really great. And they don't know why they end up doing it. And sometimes it comes from, childhood traumas or things that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to talk about that in a podcast. So that's something else that within the dating app, my podcast will be in the dating app, because not only do I do worst dating stories or crazy dating stories or funny dating stories on Wednesdays, on Mondays, I have life coaches and therapists come on the show, and we talk about various topics from, like I was saying, codependency, attachment theory, the subconscious mind, like why do we do the things that we do in relationships, and just putting stuff out there so people can they can come to knowledge of certain things. Like me, for example, I always tended to like the guy who needed help versus the guy who had his shit together. Why is that? I learned about codependency, and I was able to link it back to my childhood. So now I have the tools to help me in finding a healthier, better relationship, and I wanted to put that out there. And same for men on certain, in other levels and certain things. So that's what my app is about. That's what my podcast is about. It's just something I want to put out there to the world to just help people get to know themselves better. And then also when they go out into the dating world, they can create those healthier relationships.
Right.
Because a lot of the time it is due to our subconscious mind on why we do the things that we do. Same with the girl that you said you had a great time with. There's no telling why she just decided to go left. More than likely it had nothing to do with you. So that's just stuff that I like to talk about and put out there.
Yeah.
And that's what my podcast and my app is about.
I love it.
Yeah.
I never heard of a Tinder podcast or a Bumble podcast. Maybe there is one and I haven't heard about
Hinge
it.
has something like that.
Hinge has something.
Right. Something like that. So they did a podcast. They haven't done it, but it's more so they'll bring couples. What I saw, they'll bring like somebody maybe they met on Hinge and then it didn't go well, and then they kind of talk about that. They'll have the guests come on, but I didn't see nothing for 2020. They had shows for 2018, 2019, but I didn't see anything for 2020 and 2021. So Hinge does.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing this. It's not just only an app. It's not just only a website, but it's a podcast. So you're serving your content through multiple platforms for people to not only know themselves, but know what they're getting into when they go into the dating scene, and just having those conversations with people of where they are at with their love life and how they can be better at approaching their potential mate and see what kind of relationship will come out of it. And the dating apps, like I said, people have their own agendas, have their own mission of what they're looking for. Hey, I met some people on Tinder that ended up being people that I work with in the industry. So if it doesn't lead to anything romantic or to a relationship, but we have some common interests in the media field to where we can work with each other outside of that, I'm cool with that as well too. But I still stand behind what I stated earlier. Have your ish together before you go on these dating apps or do what I'm doing right now, which is seeking therapy. I think therapy and seeking therapists, especially in these days of time where people are going through COVID and going through all these different series of events, social injustice happening everywhere. People are having PTSD now than ever before. You don't have to go into the military or go into the army to have PTSD. You can have PTSD from COVID and from social injustice and racism happening here in America. I still feel like one needs to seek therapy before going on these dating apps or going online dating or going to a platform like a meetup.
Definitely agree. I definitely agree. And it will definitely help, like you was just saying, to move forward and be a healthier version within a relationship and vice versa if you do get therapy. Because like I was saying, we go through things like little traumas as kids, and, we think it's not that big of a deal, but then it impacts our relationships and we don't deal with that shit beforehand. So, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So, DJ, where can people follow you and how can they listen to your podcast?
So you can follow me at P4K Podcast on Facebook and on Instagram. You can look up Playing the Number 4 Keeps on all of the places you would listen to podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Just make sure you put Playing and then the Number 4 Keeps podcast and you'll find me. And then you can check out my website, www.p4kdating.com.
Nice. I love it. Well, DJ Dominique Robinson, thank you so much for being a guest on the Love and Poetry podcast. And this is a podcast where we not only talk about love, relationships, and sex and everything in between, but we also share poetry. I do not have mine ready. I'm a poet as well, but unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I do not have a poem ready. Are you a poet yourself? Do you partake in any type of spoken word and or poetry?
I used to write poetry, and I have some poetry on my Facebook, but it's been a while since I wrote poetry, but I used to write poetry about relationships all the time. So, yeah.
Okay.
I actually do.
Do you have one ready or do you have one memorized?
I don't have nothing memorized. It's been a while, but I can pull something up if you.
Okay.
And don't judge me because I wrote these
hey, this is a no judge zone here on the Love and Poetry podcast. We don't judge people.
Y'all don't judge people?
No, we do not.
Let me see if
we let people be themselves.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull my.
Okay.
If I can get my notes up real quick. If I can, then yes, I'll have something to share.
Okay. So while DJ is doing that, I want to remind you guys that Love and Poetry podcast with yours truly, the architect Sean Garvey, and my co-host Sha'ria Thomas, we come to you every other week with a brand new episode the first and third Sunday of each month on beatbreakradiofm.com and on the Podcast FM app. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to download the Podcast FM app to your mobile device or to your smartphone to listen to our content on the go. You can go to beatbreakradiofm.com to download the app. If you are an Android user or an iPhone user, you can go directly to beatbreakradiofm.com. But if you are an Android user and you want to go to places like Amazon, just make sure you leave a comment and a review to let us know how you like the app. Just stay patient with us, ladies and gentlemen. The app is currently under construction, but you can still listen to great content on there. And we're still waiting for a DJ to pull up some poetry before we come to a close right here on Love and Poetry Podcast.
I hate that I can't find it on here.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I can't find it.
Can you freestyle?
Oh, it's been a minute.
I'm just putting you on the spot there.
I know.
But don't worry. You know what? We can bring you back on. And if you have something ready by that time, we will be more than happy to allow you to share one.
I'm so upset because I'm looking like, let me see. Wait, let me try one more thing.
Okay.
I posted poetry. It was a long time ago. Like, a long time ago.
Okay. So she's going to try. We're going to give her one more chance.
One more chance, y'all.
We're going to give her one more chance to find it, and we'll have her come back on the podcast later.
And I'm gonna be ready. I might just write one for you guys.
That would be nice.
Right. I might just write one specifically for the show because I've been trying to live in my creativity more. Okay, I can't find it. I can't. Okay. I'm not even going to keep you guys. Oh.
No worries. Well, DJ, we're going to bring you back on, and we're going to let you spit something the next time, okay?
All right, that's a bet.
All right. P4KDating.com is the website for more information about Playing for Keeps. And make sure you check out her podcast, available on all streaming platforms. Dominique, DJ Robinson, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And this has been Love and Poetry Podcast with your host, the architect Sean Garvey, and Sha'ria Thomas, who will be back on episode 3 of the podcast. Hopefully, we will bring Sha'ria Thomas' parents on to talk about the married life. All right, on episode 3. So we look forward to that, and we look forward to being in your homes and on your phones the next time around. Until then, love and life, and make sure you love each other and love on each other. Until the next time, everybody, this is Sean Garvey signing out. Peace.